everyone, welcome to the Pockets Pro Series. My name is Aaron Tracy. Very happy to say that today we have all of the gentlemen here who are going to be in the Pockets Pro Series 1 starting tomorrow. We're going to run through a Q&A today. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen.
Cheers.
I'll quickly run through the names of our team. Hopefully I get this right first time. Starting top left, we have Ben Noonan from Victoria, Justin Sayich from New South Wales, Mark Robertson from Victoria. We have Rusty Wheeler from Queensland. Bottom row, we have Joel Younger to your left from Victoria, Steve Woods from ACT, Michael Skerry from Victoria as well. And on the end, we have James Delahunty from South Australia. Again, thank you for joining us, guys. Hopefully you are as excited as we all, chomping at the bit, I hope, for the start of the Pro Series tomorrow. I'll get straight into the questions. I'm going to just run through some random questions. Today is a Q&A, so we're going to try and keep it pretty casual. And gentlemen, please get involved. I'll direct questions at certain players, but I'd love to hear your input if you've got something to add. Going to kick it off with a question to Mark Robertson up the back. So, Mark, I'm going to keep this nice and casual. So, it is... It's no secret that you believe that you are the best placed to finish at the top of the conclusion of the Pro Series. Nice soft one to begin.
Is that right, Marky boy?
What attributes of yours do you think separate you from the rest?
I don't know where you're getting that information from. I think I may have told Gus and George to get that on one of our walks or something, but I don't know. I don't know where you got that from. Look. So are you asking what might separate me from everyone else?
Yeah, so what do you think holds you in good stead to go the furthest in this series?
I've probably put in, out of everyone here, probably put in one of the most amount of time on the table. And I think my Q action is probably better than everyone else here, except maybe Steve Woods. So I'm hoping those two things combined will make me pretty tough.
Fantastic. I'm going to get straight into it. Next question, Michael Skerry. Welcome today. Who's your greatest friend, and also who's your biggest rival on the Pro Series Tour, and why?
Well, greatest friend, obviously, the wife behind me, Mark Robertson. But we've spent a lot of time together playing, as everyone knows, and always
see.
Keep
it clean, fellas.
Well, it's good to know your friends, so yes, a little bit there.
Would that be your greatest rival to his right?
And what was the second question?
Yeah, who's your greatest rival here, and why?
Rival? Oh, look, I've played a lot of these boys, a lot. So I don't think I really have a rival, I don't think, at the moment. So I think once we start playing the Pro Series, I think we'll all start new rivals. So it's a little bit different playing this sport than playing on the 7-footers. So absolutely. I think we'll all have new rivals once this thing kicks off. So
absolutely,
yeah.
I think that everyone would agree that that's the plan. That we do develop new rivalries today, and for the next 6 or 7 months. Thank you for that. I'm going to throw over to you, Ben. Ben Noonan up the back. Now, you are, am I right in saying you're the reigning national 8-ball champion?
Yes, that would be correct.
Yes. Okay.
Just in case you forgot. everyone else seems to have forgotten.
It was 4 years ago.
It's actually, to be honest, Aaron, I'll stop you there. I'm actually back to back. So I've actually taken over Michael Skerry.
Okay.
Well, it's been 3 years, yeah.
There you
Makes
go.
Sense.
I'm gonna run with that. Now, tell me, why is it? We've seen a little bit of chat online in some social media circles. Why is it that you think that some of the punters don't believe that you'll be successful in the Pockets Pro Series?
It's a good question. It's a good question. It's probably fair, to be honest, especially Travis Crawley having me at 80-1 to win the first match in a race to 7. So thanks for that, Trav. Look, honestly, I think probably the last real tournament I think we played was the Australian title. So at the end of the day, I've probably played some ordinary online stuff. Haven't played a lot, haven't really put in a lot of time and effort, I guess, which is it's turned around the last 3 months. So
okay.
Good luck to him. I'm going to prove him wrong.
So you believe you will prove them wrong. Do you think you're going to come out strongly and got a
I've
tough
put in the
matchup?
time. I've put in the time, so that's all I can say. So we'll hopefully get the run of the balls, and but it won't be anything other than ability that'll get anyone over the line in this, and a bit of run of the balls.
Absolutely. Run of the balls will be a big factor. Thank you, Ben. James Delahunty. Now, you've helped Australia win the World Pool Teams Final, as many of the gentlemen sitting at these tables have. I believe you're one of the two of these lads that may have been, a few of these lads might have been beside you, actually. Is your gut feel that, look, I've been in the trenches with these guys and we're good mates now? Or is it more the opposite and that's all in the past and it's all out war now?
Come on.
I mean, it probably is the former for the most part, which is probably not great TV, but we are pretty good mates. And you know, you get the sense that you go through something like that with people, with a group of guys, and you do become pretty close with them in a certain kind of way, you know, even if we don't see each other that much. And at the same time, we're all huge rivals. Like, we've been playing each other for like 20 plus years, and big matches at the ends of tournaments. That's why you've picked us 8 guys, because they're the big matches at the ends of comps. So, you know, it's both. It's both.
I think that's a fair answer. I think you're right there. It is really good mates who are about to become fierce rivals. So, Justin Sage up the back, you are, I'm going to say, personally, unquestionably, one of the finest exponents in the world at speed pool. Do we all agree with that statement? No?
I've never watched it in my life, Aaron, to be honest. So
Neither have I, actually.
Look, I've been watching you online lately and you are extraordinarily quick. My question is, how much do you think a 30-second shot clock will advantage you and why?
Tough question, but I think the big factor is playing overseas on a 30-second shot clock. I've done that last year as well, which I have a bit of experience in, but I think the speed pool is completely different. With the 30-second shot clock here, you still got to map out your balls. With the speed pool, you can pot any ball, so it's a big difference. So you've got to be quick and thinking on your spot and mapping the outs.
Absolutely. I'm guessing the instinctiveness is more so the speed pool, whereas you do need to be a little bit more calculated with 30-second shot clock.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just getting down and lining up the balls and potting them, which may help in that aspect, but realistically it's not going to help much. Maybe the 6-red will be a bit of a factor, but who knows whether we're going to get to a 6-red shootout.
Thank you. I'll be back to you for more questions a bit later. Rusty, over to you. You are the people's champ.
Yeah.
You have a cult following online, especially in your home state.
8 foot.
On 8 foot, apparently. But you have come out of retirement for this Pockets Pro Series. Is that correct?
I don't think I ever stopped playing. I think it's just come down to it's just come down to
His form looks like he's stopped playing
well,
lately. So.
as I said, the last 6 or 7 tournaments I've played in, I've won 5 of them and I'm runner up the last 2. So I'm not here to get beaten.
Were
You know
you
what I
any of
mean?
those?
Yeah, you were. So,
You lost in the semis the last one I won.
yeah, there's been 7 since then. Stevie, that was the only tournament you've won. Jesus Christ almighty. The Ipswich Cup, yeah, I won the Parramatta Open.
Bravado aside, how do you think you'll go? How do you rate your chances?
In all honesty, I think every single player here can beat everybody. I've played them all 100 times and they've beaten me just as much as I've beaten them. So that's not saying that there's obviously players that you fancy yourself more to beat than others, because because styles makes matches. And I think there's certain players that I'd feel more comfortable playing than others. But whoever you play, if you don't play your best pool, you're going to get beaten.
Now,
And that's just how it is.
You don't have to expand on that, but I'll give you the option. You were talking about matchups there. Do you want to mention certain matchups that might work in your favour? You don't have to?
Well, I will. I think my record against Justin's good.
Yep.
So people don't realise they might have me at $2.35 or whatever. I'm confident playing Justin. I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get somebody who's not going to break and dish 20 frames in a row on me. I'm going to get someone who's going to give me another bite at the cherry, and I'm going to take it. And 9 times out of 10, as soon as I see his little back arm going like that, I've got him. All right, so I'm confident. Mate, you scary, Woodsy did. All right, you couldn't even go on with that, for God's sake. All right, so I'm confident, and I'm confident whoever I play. Doesn't mean I'm not going to get beaten, because if I get beat, well, I'll just make an excuse. I wasn't feeling right on the day.
We were just talking about that yesterday, Joel.
So what do you say? At the end of the day, none of us are here paying the money we're paying and taking the time off work and coming down here to get beaten. All right, we're all confident in our own ability. Jimmy's come from South Australia, Stevie from Canberra, Justin from New South Wales, etc. The Victorians have put in time. That's fine. They're great players. They've always been great players. But listen, time doesn't buy you ticker. Time doesn't buy your heart, and time doesn't get you a victory. What does is what you've got in self-belief and what you can do on the day. That's all it comes down to.
Excellent answer, Rusty.
Jesus.
You can certainly rely on Rusty for colour. And
A notepad of excuses already.
And a list of reasons why he might beat you as well. I'm going to throw over to you, Joel. You've arguably had the most, I'll say, you've had the most international success across the largest cross-section of table sports. Now, since I wrote this, I've since learned that Steve and a couple of the other guys also have a pretty good resume across different sports, including, I believe, 8-ball, 9-ball and snooker. What does 8-ball need to do to compete with snooker in the UK and 9-ball in the US for the years to come?
Yeah, I think I've had experience with the snooker in the UK, and I think the promotion, like with 9-ball with Matchroom Sports, what these guys from Pockets are doing is they're on the right track, trying to bring a bit of colour and excitement to the sport. I think snooker in the past, in Australia, it's been just a bit bland. So I think these guys at Pockets with the opening ceremony, I saw all the things they got planned. Looks amazing. I think they're on the right track.
Absolutely. Thank you. Steve, you were also a part of the World Championship team in 2016, correct?
Yes, I was.
How much has changed in your world since then, and how will this impact your performance?
Well, lots. After the 2016, when we won the world title, I kind of stopped playing for a while, which a lot of us did. We went over there. We've been trying for a long time to win the world title. We've been sent in a top team for so many years. Finally got it. So we didn't want to spend any more money by going back to Blackpool. Sick of it. And so a few of us took a break. And then, finally sort of got back into it a little bit. And then COVID hit, obviously. But I don't know, I've had kids since. Well, one, a daughter.
Congratulations.
A few of us have had kids. So, I don't know, I think more mature, ready to take the next step.
Excellent.
Win this.
Quick show of hands, who has children here? Pretty much everyone except Justin.
Oh, he's got a few.
Well, you know what? Anyone can answer this, whoever wants to answer this question. How has having kids changed pool for you? Whether it's positive, negative, no effect, the time you get on the table. Anyone can answer this question. Open question.
Perspective. Back in the day when I used to lose a tournament, I used to think it was the end of the world. I had to wait for the next one. Everything was horrible. What's the point in anything? But when you have kids and you lose in a tournament, you come home, they're there. You know, they're just far more important. And you just realise that when losing a pool tournament is just not the end of the world.
And does that help you play, knowing that whether I lose this, it doesn't matter? Does that loosen the shoulders? Does it make it easier to deal with the pressure situations?
I can't speak for the other guys, but for me, sometimes I feel a little bit guilty going away, playing when I've got the kids at home and all that. And then sometimes that can help you because you don't want to waste that time. But then, sometimes you do feel a bit guilty and perhaps it can put a bit of extra pressure on you.
Yeah, I think
Great insight.
I think the guilt is a big part of it because you do go away, whether it's for a day or 2 or 3 or 4, and you do when you go away, you always think of your family. So you sort of do want to go there, not to enjoy yourself, but also to win and make it worthwhile. So, and plus, when you're trying to practice at home, it's very hard to during the day while the kids are up. And if you do, well, you know, you've got to... It can actually make you mentally tougher as well, having kids run around and grab the balls and move them and, you know, just yeah, it is crazy, but I think it would make a player more stronger than they were before. So having kids, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's a bit of both for me as well. I think gives you a sense of perspective, which can kind of help, I suppose, when you're playing a big tournament and you realise it's not the end of the world. But at the same time, you like that sense of perspective can kind of affect you in other ways as well. You kind of realise that the game's not as important and maybe you don't put as much time and effort into it as well, or you miss certain tournaments, so you don't have continuity with your game and with your tournament play. So it's both, you know, it's both a benefit and probably a cost to your game as well. Yeah.
And following on from that, the format that Pockets have put together is generally two series, pro series played back to back, and then we'll take a break for roughly 6 weeks. Do you think that works well from a nice balance with your family, that you can go hard for 2 days and then spend quality time with your family?
I think it would, because if it was on every 3 or 4 weeks, you know, especially the boys coming from other states, it would be too hard for them. Plus, you know, the boys that do have families, it's very hard to organise and plan to go away. So having it every 2 months, I think it's a good break, and I think it's you know, we'll soon find out, but I think it's well set up as well. So
great.
Yeah.
It's a good break for us. Like I enjoy going away to tournaments as just a relief from work itself. You know what I mean? Just getting away, seeing friends that you don't see very often, once or twice a year, and going and playing a bit of pool, and not worrying about anything else. That's how I treat these tournaments when I come away. Like, with all bull crap aside, like 9 times out of 10, when you're at home, you're busting your ass and you get home, you're tired, you don't want to do nothing, you don't want to practice. But when there's a tournament coming up, especially something like this, you try to put in the time, you try to put in the effort, and you actually look forward to going away and having a bit of time to yourself just to play, you know what I mean? So I might be a bit different than these boys, because my girls, they're a bit older, you know, so they're at stages now where on the weekends they're doing their own sort of things anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Last thing they want to do is be home with me anyway. So they're either playing netball and carnivals or doing something, you know. So it's...
I just like getting away from a 16-year-old for 10 minutes in the drama of it, to be honest.
So absolutely, pros and cons, I'm sure we could all agree there. But no, it's a really interesting insight there, Rusty, that it is a holiday from your work life. And seeing online, I think you're putting in 12-hour days at times. And
oh, you do big days, mate. Like, especially like a lot of these boys
Sitting in
got
the
their own
car.
businesses. But you don't get sunburn. You don't get sunburn in your car, unfortunately. So, unfortunately,
4 hours of
for me,
Facebook
I'm
Live
out
every
on the
day.
roads every day. Stop. I'm out on the roads every day working. So,
You meant 12 hours of pool,
listen,
not on the road.
the only time these boys see me, I should say, is when I get in the car to get out of the sun for 5 minutes and I do a live. And I do that just to get through the day, tell you the truth, to amuse myself and have a go at someone just to watch the comments, and that's about it. But other than that, no.
Rusty's actually a big fan of push bike riders too on the road, cyclists.
What is that, mate?
You like the cyclists on the road, apparently? Yeah.
All around my streets.
excellent. I'm going to go back to the top. Mark Robertson, I want you to talk us through your thoughts on what is required to make pool in Australia fully professional.
I suppose I'd probably just relate it to other sports that get a lot of attention from casual viewers. I think that keeping the rules and the game very simple is important. That's why you can flick on the darts or the tennis or just whatever these sports are, and you can just have them going on the background and you kind of get what's happening. But if the rules of the game is very difficult to understand, you don't know what's happening. That's why the old rules were a bit tricky, because you'd have people doing weird fouls and shots, and casual viewers at home don't really know what's going on. So that's one thing. I think having it more entertaining on the screen is good as well, and that's what Pockets are doing. They're bringing actually more the feel of like live entertainment, kind of like the darts. I feel that's happening. I think the sports betting, that's just the way things are now. People just doing a lot of sports betting on their phones. And I think having it very accessible on people's phones as well, so they can just live view it from wherever they are.
Absolutely. Excellent answers.
Well
So,
said.
a couple of things on that. So, firstly, bet responsibly. But secondly, I totally agree. You know, a $10 bet on one of these players when betting is available, it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but all of a sudden you're invested. And then you're switching on and you're following Michael Scarry or Steve Woods to see how they go.
I think the betting will be a big part of it because I've already had a lot of people message me and ask why or why is it not happening. So I think once it does come on board, I think it will be a huge success in getting this professionalised. So
Absolutely. I think it just creates a lot more interest in the sport. You know, it doesn't matter what sport it is, if you can put a bet on it, and all of a sudden you've got someone to barrack for, and I think it'll add a whole other dimension to the series. So I think it'll be great once they get up and running.
Go Nadal.
And it's the Australian way, is barracking for somebody, and you know, even a $2 bet, and you'll barrack for that person. So just to let the viewers know at home, we're in advanced negotiations in getting betting set up, but there's some red tape, as there should be. So it won't be happening for Series 1 and 2, but stay tuned for Series 3 for our betting agency.
Put it in your mouth.
I'm going to go back to Mark Robertson's statement regarding the rules. Now, we're going with international rules for the Pockets Pro Series. There's a lot of advantages. Most of you gentlemen are getting used to these rules now. How do you think these rules, this is an open question to anyone, how do you think these rules will go from a worldwide perspective? And do you think it makes it more simpler on the average punter who's new to the sport to keep it less confusing?
Yeah, I think it's like Joel was kind of alluding to. It's got to be watchable for the layman, for the person that just kind of flicks it on, doesn't really know pool that well. And like to generate interest from those kinds of viewers, it's got to be easy to pick up what's going on. Like it's got to make sense. And I think the international rules do that. There's probably one or two exceptions, but there's always going to be with pool. I think for the most part, it's attacking, and you just kind of know what's going on. Like Robbo said, if you're watching two shot and someone plays a deliberate foul, the average person out there is not going to know what's just happened. Whereas with these rules, it's just clear cut and it's entertaining. People are potting out. You know, they're not playing much safety. It's because you've got to generate interest from the broader population, don't you? That's how the game's really going to take off.
Totally agree. Anyone else got any input there?
Well, it's also so refreshing for the players as well. You know, having something else to, things like skill shots, etc. It's just entertaining, and it's something fresh for us to look forward to, rather than the old someone that's just going to cover a hole and you're going to sit there for 40 minutes and it's just frustrating and boring really at the end of the day. So these rules not only are going to be great for TV and for the new people coming on board, the time limits, things like that, the shot clock, which is fantastic. I think we all agree. But as players ourselves, we're all really excited about it and really enjoy it.
I think you'll find a lot of us back with the old rules, we wouldn't really watch much pool, even though we play it. So with these new rules that are coming in, the international rules, you probably find that a lot of us are now spending a lot more time watching the game because it is more exciting, it is quicker, and like Ben said before, a frame isn't taking half an hour, 40 minutes, So I think everything is moving in the right direction, and I think a lot of people, once they play on these tables and play with the rules, I think they will jump on board. It's great fun, and it is a breath of fresh air. So, yeah.
I'm going to stick with you, Michael, for a second. A fair bit has been made of the home state rivalries, and I guess this comes from several years of you gentlemen competing against each other, and for most of you, we're talking decades now. Do you think the Victorians will stick together to heap pressure on the visitors, or is this every man for himself?
Look, I think at the end of the day, you will have your friends backing each other up. But look, we're all here. We're all here to win, even though, some of us are best friends. When we're out there, it's every man for himself. And I'm going to be doing what I can to win at all costs. And I think so will these boys. And especially coming from other states as well, they're not going to let up because, Rusty and Justin are, in bed together or something like that. It's more just they're going to try and kill each other. So, and that's what it's all about. And I think you will see that. You'll see none of us, friends on the table, you'll see all out blood.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the way it'll be.
White line fever.
War on that table.
You've heard it first here. There's absolutely war.
Joel's perked up.
I nearly jumped out of my chair when you said war. Where did that come from?
Get him rusty.
You've got the 8 biggest egos in the game. Don't worry about that. People might not think of guys like Joel and Stevie and that, but these guys in their local areas and when they're playing tournaments, these guys for the last 10, 15 years, they go to tournaments thinking they're the best in the room.
And do you think that that's a large factor as to why you guys are the best of the best?
Well, I think if you don't think you can win, you can never win.
I
That's just simple. If you don't believe in yourself, no one else is.
So a prerequisite to win is to
100%,
is self-confidence.
100%.
If you speak to any professional, every professional has ego and big ego. It all depends on how they show it, whether they show it like a Conor McGregor or like Rusty online, or they show it like Joel on the table. So everyone has ego. It's just how they present it out there for people to.
You've already made. Sorry, Mick. You've already made room for your trophy. We believe you've already made room for your trophy.
I have, Benny. I'll tell you something now. I've spent in the last game, the 7-footers. I started 10 or 15 years behind all these boys.
Here we go.
And the difference is now we're all starting together. So I'm not 10 or 15 years behind now. So
You're asking like what comes first, though, the ego or the ability, right? And I think in most cases it's the ability. You get good, and then you know how good you are.
Yeah.
There's a few exceptions around the place to that, but for the most part, that's how it works, I think.
Absolutely.
You're that exception, Mick.
Michael just touched on something then, was the 7-foot tables. Obviously, traditionally in Australia, we do play on a 7-foot table. So something that Pocket Sports is bringing is the 6-foot table to more, I guess, align with the UK pool series there. Open question again. How are you all finding the 6-foot table? Supreme table, dare I say the word supreme, but how are you finding the 6-foot table? Do you find it easier? Is anyone here who thinks that it suits their game more?
You should answer this, Joel. You're the only one that hasn't played on one, aren't you?
Yeah, I think it's definitely more congested. The balls, so you can fall out an inch a position, and you can snooker yourself. So I think although the table's smaller, I originally thought it would make it easier, not as much long potting and that sort of stuff. But I actually think it's going to be the players that are more precise with their position because it's a confined area.
Do you think breaking is going to be a massive factor on a smaller table?
Oh, absolutely. I think this tournament will come down to who breaks the best and who handles the pressure the best. I think there's the winner there. Whoever can do those two things.
Hard to argue with that. Thank you, Joel. James, I'm going to throw this one to you. We've got several versions of 8-ball currently played in Australia. We did touch on this a bit before. What do you think we need to bring all of these formats together to work as one and grow the sport of pool in Australia?
Oh, I think what you guys are doing, really. I mean, at the moment, we've got world rules happening in most parts of the country. We've got international rules in New South Wales, and they don't even know what world rules are. It's a bit all over the place. We've got these international rules starting to come in here, and I think the only thing that's going to unify all of it is enough money and enough professionalism. I mean, if you guys can do what you're setting out to do, then why would people play the other games when they can come and play?
Do you think someone like Blackball will come across to these rules if there's enough sponsorship money, interest, TV? Do you think that somebody like that could come across? And
I think those you're probably always going to have leagues and stuff where all those different rule sets have a part to play in their local area. But in terms of a professional tour or a tour that's right at the top, that all the top players want to play in, I mean, we're seeing it in the UK now, where the best players are now all signing with their main tour because they've just made it worth their while, and that's what it comes down to, isn't it? We all want to do it for a living, and we can't at the moment. These are the best rules, so it's great that this is the rule set that's looking to do it, but to be honest, we want to do it for a living, so whoever did it, with whichever rule set, that's where people would gravitate the best players. So, it's a lucky coincidence that the people that are interested in doing it with the best rules are the ones that are trying to turn it professional. I don't know if that made sense. But,
made complete sense. No, in a nutshell, you're saying that whoever does it best, if their rules are half decent, people will gravitate to that.
Makes sense.
Okay. Well, Pocket Sports are going to do it best. There's no doubt about that. So, Steve, I'm going to ask you, do you find it advantageous playing several disciplines? Do you think that snooker background and things like that, do you think that it helps your game? Does it hinder your game because you've, different cueing actions or anything like that? What are your thoughts on being multidisciplined in cue sports?
Well, I haven't done it for a little while, but I actually think it can help in a way. Snooker will help any cue sport that you play. You have to be so much more precise because it's such a big table. So if you play snooker and you get good at that, you're getting better at pool. Yeah, you just can't. It just has to work hand in hand with it.
Does the same thing apply for 9-ball?
No, you can get lazy on a 9-ball table, I think. But coming back and the size of the balls, it can be harder to come back, sort of thing. It would help. Playing anything is better than nothing, don't get me wrong. But I think you can, when I've gone to 9-ball, things like that, I've sometimes find it a bit hard to come back if I've done it for a few weeks or a month or something.
Would you rather play a 9-ball player who's practicing every day, who's a pro? Would you rather play an 8-ball player who's a pro, who's practicing once a week at 8-ball?
It just completely depends who it is.
Yep, okay.
I guess.
Fair enough.
I think it's a bit of a misconception that 9-ball's bad for 8-ball, so I do kind of disagree a little bit. I think you've got to be playing enough 8-ball because the balls are different sizes positionally. You just got to be playing enough 8-ball. But say you are putting enough time on the 8-ball table, I think playing 9-ball, you have to cue through those big balls. Yeah. So I think if you're playing enough of everything, 9-ball is good for your 8-ball, personally. But it's different for everybody.
You got to a good stage in 9-ball, Jimmy, didn't you? You went overseas a few times.
Yeah, I've been to a few world titles, not to the same stage as Joel. Made the quarterfinals of the world 9-ball in Cardiff, which was a monstrous effort in the early 2000s, I think, which is just like world class. So that's probably the best result we've ever had, I think, at a world
Duffy
or 9-ball title. Yeah, I think Duffy made a semi maybe, but
semi-T's,
but it wasn't the same back then, was it?
got it.
Yeah.
When these guys, when Joel and Quinton was there that year, that was real big. 128 players qualifying, and it was a real big one.
They must have had the good Filipinos back then when Duff and all them.
Yeah, I think you're right.
No way in the world did they?
Yeah, I think the money come on when Matchroom Sport got involved in 9-ball.
It's different.
Matchroom Sport, they really, promoted the game really well. They got it on all the TV channels, Foxtel, and it was big money back then. I think the winner was getting I think it was 140, 150,000. There's been some huge 9-ball tournaments in Asia and stuff where up around, I think 360,000 to the winner was, I remember the Tokyo Open. 9-ball has been huge, and hopefully we can get this game to where it's got to.
Excellent. I'm going to throw this question open to anyone. Hopefully you've all been watching the Australian Open of tennis. A lot has been made in the tennis world recently about mental strength, particularly from an Australian perspective. Players like Ash Barty and Nick Kyrgios, two very different styles of beating your opponents mentally. How important do you think mental toughness is in 8-ball? And do you put any time into your own mental strength, i.e. sports psychology?
I guess I'll start. I do. I've got little things I can do at home. If I practice, I like to practice in the mornings or practice at night, because I believe that if we're playing in a tournament, we're either playing early, or if you're late playing in a tournament and you're about to make a semis or a final, you're playing late. So it's good to either practice when you just get up or practice right before you go to bed. And I think if you can do those two things, when you go to play, either in the morning or at night, you'll understand how your body works and how you feel and how you can, adjust gears and stuff like that. I've got a few things I have that my wife's put up around the house, just things I can repeat every day, and just it's good to get yourself mentally prepared.
What
I want to be like Mark.
Yeah, that's it.
Anyone want to
So-
expand on that?
Yeah, just with as players, I think everyone's different mentally. With as far as flow goes, you'll get probably 4 of us that are a lot quicker than the other 4, for example, and it is very much mental. Once you get in that rhythm and you get in that flow, if you're playing really quick and you miss a couple of balls, your head can go quite quickly. Whereas someone that's a bit more methodical, for example, won't have that issue. I just find anyway, blokes like Joel and Robbo and whatnot. So we'll be interested to see what the shot clock does to the boys. But
To the slow players.
That's a compliment, Joel.
it certainly is. So at the end of the day, there is guys that are in this field that are probably known as a little bit more mentally strong than others, and it does play a massive part.
You want to throw some names out there? You don't
No,
have to.
definitely not. I'm just leaving my cards next to my chest at the moment.
You can't be sitting up here if you're not mentally strong, because you've had to have done very well in multiple tournaments over a long amount of time to be up here. I think the difference with pool as opposed to say some other sports, with pool, it's a lot of the time it cannot be up to you. You can be playing really well, you can play a beautiful way out, you can be feeling really good, and then the other guy can just come in and just stay at the table and keep you off the table for 20 minutes, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's a lot of other sports where tennis, golf, other sports like this, where if you're playing well, you can just keep at it and nothing can get in your way. Where unfortunately with this game, there is a luck element that can just freeze you out at times. So you have to be able to handle those swings, and just sit there and wait for your chance, because you can be 3-0, 4-0 down and not have done anything wrong. And are you mentally tough enough to handle that?
I wasn't going to touch on it, but whilst we're speaking to you, Mark, obviously your brother, Neil Robertson, Australia's best snooker player and top 5 in the world. I'm guessing that he's put a fair bit of effort into his mental toughness. Snooker is obviously a very psychological game as well. Have you spoken to your brother about sports psychology, or?
He's a freak. That's the simplest way I can put it. He did no schooling or research into mental toughness. He just was naturally just good at the few things that he wants to do. He just excelled at really, really fast. And he just happens to have this perfect temperament for snooker where he never loses, he never gets angry or anything. If you watch a lot of us play online, we miss a ball, we're smashing the table, Mick's put holes in his walls, there's all sorts of stuff where Neil, he just doesn't get angry. He never...
He's a genius.
He's a genius. He's an absolute... So many people don't understand. All these 8 guys here are incredible, and he's just 10 levels above, like absolute freak level. It's just, he's just found the perfect sport for him, and he's just mastered it. I remember there was once, this is not even to do with any sort of sport, I remember when I was over there, myself and one of the other snooker pros, for whatever reason, we had this little soft football, and we thought, let's try and kick it across the room into this little dustbin. We were there for ages trying to do it, couldn't do it. Neil walks in, hey, what are you doing? Oh, this is what we're doing. He picks up the little ball, and I just saw this look in his eyes. I'm thinking, oh, he's going to nail this straight away. Just kicks it, boom, straight in the little dustbin. And that's just sort of, that's him. When he just sets his mind to do something, he just nails it perfectly.
Tell us a little bit about, whilst we're on you and your brother effectively grew up in pool halls. Your father owned a pool hall, I believe.
Yeah, classic Q in Ringwood. In
yes. Was he that mentally tough growing up, or like most kids I know, whatever sport they're playing, they're going to throw whatever they're playing when they're 10 years old, 12 years old. Were the signs there early, or did he have the usual temper like most of us did at that age?
No, he was always calm. Again, like we all played in shopping centres and stuff, and it's always business for him, always straight away. But he was, within a few years, he's making centuries on the table, and he just loved doing it. We'd be there playing at Dad's room. I'd play for an hour or two, get bored and want to go to time zone, and he'd say, no, I'm just going to stay and keep doing lineups and practicing. And I thought he was silly. Well, I was wrong.
Really interesting insight. Thank you for sharing that, Mark. I'm going to throw this question over to everyone, but I'm going to open with yourself, Justin. You are the youngest here. So what do you think needs to be done to bring the next wave of junior champions through in Australia?
Yeah, we need a a strong sports junior program, I think. The way I grew up playing pool is we had a local pool hall down the road. They used to do junior coaching from 9 a.m. in the morning till midday. It was only $5 back then. We'd get 20 kids back then. We'd play round robins. We'd play against each other. And that's really what kicked it off for me. So I think it starts from the junior programs, hitting the schools as well. I think that would be something great where kids could have an option of doing a sport like pool or snooker for a few months or weeks, whatever they do with their programs. It really needs to start from there. So I'd love to see that.
It all stems from professionalism again, though, doesn't it? Like, if this gets up and going and people are doing it for a living, then, you know, the government might be interested in funding those sorts of programs Justin's talking about. Money and interest, you know, is injected into the game. If this doesn't take off, and it will, but if the game doesn't become professional, then it's always going to be a grind for those junior programs to get going and keep momentum, because, like, where's the light at the end of the tunnel? Where's the dream for the kids to aim for?
I'm sure we all agree that there's a 1% of the population are highly talented, and it's whoever can get them into their sport, they're going to dominate. So
there's a lot more people that play cue sports in Australia than people actually realise. Like, there is literally, it wouldn't surprise me if there's well over 100,000. Well over, even a couple 100,000. There's 27, 28 million people in Australia. Every Joe Blow has at least gone
26.6 million.
26.6. Well, there you go. But good on you. Well, thanks,
the numbers, man.
But either way, 1 or 2% of those people, 10% of those people have had a game of pool at some time in their lives. And, you know, a lot of the people that aren't going to be football players or 90%. Soccer players or, yeah, well, that's right, 90% probably. You're right. It's just, I just think there's a lot. The question was asked by Titus not long ago, how many leagues? And they're everywhere, and they're all old rules. They're like the literally old two-shot or foul rules. And there's that many associations scattered through different towns throughout Australia where they might only have 50, 60 players or whatever, but they all add up. There's thousands and thousands. And if this goes well and people start watching it, and I think they will, the game can grow, and all of a sudden we can start getting some fantastic prize money. You know what I mean? Like, at the moment, the prize money's fantastic and it's brilliant. Titus has put his heart and his soul into getting this where it is at the moment, and we're all grateful 100% because it's given us something to aspire to and it's given us something to practice for, and we're stoked to be a part of it. But previously we had the big guns when we had probably another 2 or 3 tournaments where you thought to yourself, if you go away and you play, you know, it costs you, say, $1,200, $1,500. Well, I tell you, you pay accommodation, your flights and all the rest of it. You're missing time away from the weekends with your kids or whatever, or, you know, you leave on the Friday, so you get your accommodation and that. It all adds up. By the time you win it, you walk away with a $1,000 bill. You know, I stopped going to tournaments that were worth $2,500, $3,000 to the winner years and years ago. It's just not worth it. You've got to be having at least 5,000 first prize minimum, and to make it worthwhile, and or you really pushing shit uphill. So I think the way Titus is doing this at the moment, and I think the way it's looking, I think there's going to be there's such a good buzz about it, and I think everybody's going to get behind it, and hopefully that passes on into the future, into the juniors and that, because I know a lot of kids are going to be watching this, and they're going to be keen as mustard to keep on, you know, trying to get to where we are. So,
thank you, Rusty, and thank you to the 8 gentlemen in front of me. I'm going to finish off with one question. I'll start back left and work my way down and across. Excluding yourself, just a one-word answer.
Steve Woods. No. Yeah, go on.
Excluding yourself, who do you think will finish on top at the end of the Pro Series? Not Pro Series 1 or 2, at the end of the Pro Series. Start with you, Ben. One-word answer.
Yeah, Steve Woods. Let's go with that.
Justin?
James.
Mark?
30 seconds.
I'm going to say James.
That's a foul.
Joel.
Joel?
Strawberry blonde phenom.
That'll be Justin. Steve? James. Michael?
Ben.
And James.
Justin.
There you go. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, guys. We cannot wait for tomorrow. This has been Pocket Sports. I'm Aaron Tracy. We'll see you guys tomorrow.